you don't hold on tight enough, she'll buck you off. I tell you what, pioneers used to ride these babies for miles. What's up? Long time no see. It's been a minute since I filmed, but I figured it would be nice to hop back on YouTube with some good news and this nice sunset to enjoy together. So here at Starfront, we're basically all about making space more accessible, which means lowering the cost for you to get into it. So recently, we decided to cut the price of our heavy piers in half. So instead of, I think they were $7.99, they're $3.99 now to host a larger telescope up to like 96 inches swing diameter. So if you have a big telescope, that's great for you. Real happy for you. If you have multiple systems, we're waiving the install fees for any new system that you have at the observatory. So just some cost savings measures that we want to pass on to you guys to encourage more telescopes, because clearly we don't have enough telescopes here. We're almost 500, I think. It's been a minute since I last counted. Last time I counted, we were at like 470, and that was weeks ago. So we're probably about to cross into 500 scopes if we haven't already. But a lot of things have been happening at the observatory. So I'm gonna give you a tour, show you what has changed over the last 6 months. We got a whole lot more telescopes here, very cool ones. We actually just finished installing the largest telescope, which is here at the observatory now, which is a 24-inch Newtonian. So it's pretty cool. There go all the lagging roofs. Oh, by the way, while we're up here on the roof and we have a nice kind of bird's eye view of the site, we're up to 11 buildings now. So we have one row here of 10. And then if I pan you over, you'll see we have building 20 back there. Building 20 and the building I'm on right now have no scopes in them currently. That's why I'm sitting on this one as it's shut. All right, time for a little bit of a tour. So first change, at least I've made to my setups, is I moved Felina to the middle of the building. She used to be in the corner over here on the north wall, but we've decided to stop putting heavies on the north walls, and we're going to be not installing heavies on the north walls anymore because you get too much of an obstruction on the northern half of the sky when you put them too close to a north wall, which is something we learned about geometry. So Felina got moved into the middle. I've made some small changes to the setup. I got a 3D printed bracket from Ruse Astro. He sent one out so that I didn't have to run the ugly zip ties any longer. I still have one on here for cable management, but yeah, thanks to Ruse. This setup looks a little bit cleaner, but it's been doing pretty well lately. Right now I'm shooting the Andromeda Galaxy. I've probably got like 160 hours or so into that. But building 2 looks pretty much the same, as you will have remembered from the previous videos. And likewise, it's about the same for building number 1, which is still full. We make some changes to the systems in here as people change their setups all the time, but you know, it's the same old building 1 flavor that you know and love and that you've seen before. Building 3 over here, also same deal. I've actually got a new setup. I'll walk in here and show to you. I've got 2 setups in this building actually. One is an FSQ 106, which I believe I have shown before. I'm currently down horrendous right now because the SkyX and Nina are treating me quite poorly. But here's my FSQ 106. I've got Deep Sky Daddy OFP2s on both the systems in here, and they do great. But yeah, building 3 also is mostly the same. My other setup in the building, which I have not shown before, that is new, is this Vixen VSD. I have it reduced down to f3, and I got the 6200 mm on the back with f3 filters on an AM5, OFP2. Just a clean setup. I put together a custom little focuser belt here out of a Takahashi bracket and a big old 450 millimeter timing belt from a 3D printer with just one of these bushings. And it's done very, very nicely. No need to get a fancy focuser for this system, which is normally the biggest drawback about the VSD, is that, you know, you have to buy a weird janky focuser setup and you lose all your back focus, but I've been totally fine with just the MacGyvered setup for that. Building 4 over here has some changes. We've started installing blackout wallpaper on the insulation in our buildings, and we're actually going to be putting this around on all of the buildings, on the lower half of the walls and the north walls. The reflection off the insulation doesn't actually impact anyone's images. We just think it looks better and it will make people feel better. So we're doing it. It's going to make the observatories look a bit more blacked out at night. They'll definitely look better in time lapses. That's the hope. Building 5, still rocking it. Probably one of my favorite buildings still. I've got another setup I'm working on here. It's a bit janky, as you can see. I've got like 5 water bottles to try to counterweight a camera, but I have an Epsilon 130 with the 2600 MC Duo I've been working on. It's not going to go anywhere fast because I'm too busy dealing with other stuff to get that system dialed. All right, building 6 has some interesting stuff to show, which I don't think I've ever shown in a video before, which is the C-Star bar, which is basically our answer for hosting smart telescopes and for utilizing our north wall space. So back here is all of our C-Stars on the C-Star bar. And these work super well on the north wall because they have such a low pivot point. Well, the lens is so close to the pivot point that you really don't lose any sky angle by being next to a wall. So they're truthfully ideal for the north wall. So we just got everyone up high. We have 3 of these bars now. We have 2 bars in 9 and then 1 bar here in 6. But this isn't the most exciting part of building 6 because we also got this thick boy right here. This is the largest scope at the observatory that we're working on right now. It's a 24-inch f3 newt, custom made by Dock Telescopes, on a Planewave L600. It's got a 6200 full frame on it. Just an absolute beast of a setup. It's even got a 8-inch secondary mirror back there, which is insane. It's a beast. We took some first light tests with it a couple days ago, and it pulls faint detail like no other. We got Nereides, the supernova remnant, to show up in a single 5-minute subframe. So this thing's got some beastly light collecting capability, and we're gonna put it to work for sure. Hopefully do some science stuff with it in collaboration with the Planetary Science Institute. Maybe a little NASA, who knows. We're gonna try to do some real stuff with that scope. By the way, if anyone here does archery, I just got done shooting. I got a Lift X. I love it. Anywho, building 7. This is a building you guys have never seen before. I think this might actually be my favorite building currently. Here's my visual daub. Building 7 here, all lights. You guys know how it is. And building 8 over here is the one one of the ones we're currently installing in. Also lights. Lots of scopes in here. We're still installing like 2 to 3 scopes every single day. So these are filling up. It won't be, but like over yonder we got building number 9. Now this is where our double C-Star stack is located. Here's another cool setup. This is a William Optics 181 with a little piggyback. Yeah, here's our double stack C-star bar. One vertically offset a little bit from the other. This is the new and improved version of our bar, which is spaced a bit more intelligently than the first one. And it has way more mounting stuff for computers and power strips. Way more well thought out. Oh, and you guys probably haven't seen this before. We have an awning for our RVs so that we can survive in the summer heat. It's made the biggest difference out here in the summertime. It's a million times cooler. And we have had a mild-ish summer here in Texas. But anyways, again, we've got a little double C-star stack. And this is building 11, totally empty at the moment, but all the piers are drilled and ready. 20 is the same story back there. It's all empty, no scopes, ready to get installed in once these other buildings get fleshed out. But man, it is a far walk to bring scopes from the shipping building all the way out to 20. So we may have to make another shipping building so that it's a bit easier to move stuff around. But that's a tour of the site, what it all looks like right now. Lots of new stuff going on, as always. But yeah, I'm going to get started on my night work. So in the last 6 months, I've also been quite busy with taking astrophotos in the meantime. So I figured I'd show you all the images I've taken in the last 6 months because we've done quite a bit of work. So last time I made a video, I was talking about a planetary nebula. I was imaging next to the star Go-Mesa in the constellation Monoceros. It's actually a new planetary nebula. So we did end up finishing that image. I think I rounded it out with maybe like 250 hours. Yeah, 250 hours of exposure time is what we sunk into that nebula. I submitted it for approval at pn.net and it was summarily rejected. So for now, I haven't named it or called it anything yet. So if you have any ideas for this nebula, we could totally toss a name on it at any point we want. But yeah, that was a very, very difficult image to process. That field, it was right next to a very, very bright star, which is not very handy when you're trying to shoot something very faint, especially with a scope like this. They put off a lot of bright reflections and my Bader filters aren't so nice. So there were a lot of ugly artifacts to deal with, but we got it done. In March, I took an image of a really, really cool PN called Hewitt-1 in the constellation of Sextans. That was a collaboration I shot with two identical systems, one in Chile and then one here from Starfront. They're identical setups, so I used both at once to get as much data as possible. And this PN is really cool. It's about, I think it's over 3 degrees in the sky, so bigger than 6 full moons. But the other cool thing about it is that it's really primed to be imaged during galaxy season when there's no other emission nebula out in the sky. So it's kind of a perfect answer to, oh, there's no nebula to shoot during galaxy season. Well, there actually are. They're just really, really, really faint. And again, I think I spent 176 hours on this image. So it was an absolute nightmare to edit, not for the faint of heart. If you're going to try to shoot this nebula, you need 100+ hours of exposure time with a fast scope, at least faster than f4 from dark skies, because it is a bear. There's almost no H-alpha in the nebula, so I would honestly suggest that you skip HA if you're going to try it, and just go for as much O3 as you can physically handle. There's not much dust either, so there's no point in doing a deep RGB. It's just a tough object all around, not a good time. But it looks cool. Let's see here. In April, I finished up an image of Thor's helmet using narrowband from this system, and I used RGB stars from my FSQ 106. And yeah, 250 hours of exposure time. It was an absolute ton. I was able to show some pretty cool features in Thor's helmet. Namely, there's like a big handle looking thing, like a purse handle hanging off it on the south side, which I haven't seen in too many other photos. The first photo I saw it in was a Another astrophotographer is here. His name's Cedric Humbert. So I decided to go for it as well and see what details I could get out of this weird blowout O3 feature, and was able to get quite a good amount of detail. So that was basically my last wintertime object that I shot. After that, I did a quick test on Rho Fuyuki with the VSD 100 at f3. I did just a quick like 8 or 9 hour exposure. It turned out quite nice, a pretty good image. The VSD does not have very good star colors, but the star shapes on the corners are nice. So it's quite difficult to deal with in post-processing, but I'm hoping that the f3 is worth it. This June, I finished up a very, very deep image of the Veil Nebula. I spent 160 hours of exposure time on it with the FSQ 106. I wanted to revisit the Veil because I'm obsessed with supernova remnants, and I don't think I had ever really sunk my teeth into the Veil Nebula in a big way ever since I kind of changed up all my processing workflows. So this was a good one to revisit. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Looks pretty cool. In between a bunch of work, in the last 6 months I had to do so much work on the triple system. It was a nightmare. Basically all winter and spring I was working on it. But the first image I had taken with it after I got all my Rosses fixed was of the Crescent Nebula and the soap bubble in Cygnus. I spent 126 hours with the triple system on this, just because I wanted something basic to point at that was going to be guaranteed to get an image, nothing insane. I was kind of at a point where I didn't want to deal with trying to find an interesting object to shoot, so I just stuck to the basics and pumped out an image. In late July, I finished a really cool image I've been wanting to do for a while with the Vixen VSD of the Sagitta bubble, which is a very, very large emission nebula. I don't think it's in the no, it is in the constellation Sagitta. It's close to Cygnus and Vulpecula. It's on the border of a bunch of constellations, but it's a big HA emission bubble that's also got Wolf-Rayet 128 embedded into the side, which is a really cool Wolf-Rayet 03 nebula that doesn't get shot a ton. So I wanted to show it in context with the Sagitta bubble itself. And it was one of the worst images I've had to deal with editing. All of the structures were very faint, very fine, and this part of the sky is literally like overpowered by diffuse starlight. So a lot of really annoying star reduction had to be done to get anything to show up at all, but it ended up turning out reasonably okay. I do think it needs more exposure time, but I spent 158 hours with one scope, so you know, what can you do? 158 is enough for me to get bored, and so I swapped over to a new object. The last image I've finished with this system in the FSQ 106, again, another internal collaboration. I shot CTA1 and NGC 40 in the constellation Cepheus, and this is one of the coolest supernova remnants I've shot in a minute. It's very, very, very faint. However, I spent like 180 hours of exposure time on it. And it was still quite faint, even between all three of the systems working at f2 and f3.6. But we still got it done with all that exposure time, and I'm very, very happy with how it turned out. I really like supernova remnants compared to every other type of deep sky object, in case you couldn't tell. Anyways, right now what I'm working on is I'm doing the Andromeda Galaxy with this scope and the FSQ 106 at once. I just have them pointed at the same field, and I've been ripping them every single night for the last month. So I've piled up probably like 170 hours of exposure time on Andromeda, but I would like to get much more. I'm going for the whole arc thing again because I'm not happy with my other images of it, and I want to try to push it a bit further than I have in the past. So that's what I'm going for. On the VSD 100, right now I'm shooting this nebula called Sivan 2, which is, I think it's in Cassiopeia. It's kind of close to Andromeda, but it's a really, really large structured emission nebula. It looks cool. So that's what I'm working on. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and some of the images. If you have any questions about sending out a setup or anything else, feel free to reach out on our website, starfront.space. I'll catch you all in another video at some point.